Hi everyone, I'm Dale Smith, aka Jarno Dale, and we're here to talk about Canadian politics. In the last couple of days, the Bloc Québécois released their election platform, and one thing in there caught my eye, which was that they plan to table a private member's bill to reduce the Governor General's salary to a symbolic $1. And this is the kind of stuff that makes me a little bit crazy. We have previously seen the NDP try and propose to make senators work for free and things like that. And it's stuff like this that makes me just a little bit crazy, because the whole point about why we pay people is so that they're independent. And governors general, most especially, but senators, because if we didn't, then they would only be the only people who we could appoint would be the absolute wealthiest Canadians, which is hardly representative of the population and would not really do anything for the health of our democracy, as well as it would make them susceptible to things like bribery or a government who is willing to start offering them things like positions post or if they retire, things like that, in order to do things that the government wants, which is something we really do not want. We have institutional independence for things like the Senate, for the Governor General, for the courts, and part of institutional independence means paying people, and it means giving them secure pensions. And when governments go after those for stupid reasons, then you impact the independence of those offices and you make them susceptible to future government meddling. We saw attempts to go after Adrienne Clarkson's salary or her Rideau Hall budget for things that the government had asked her to undertake as in official duties. And because it was a minority parliament at the time, opposition parties all ganged up to reduce Rideau Hall's budget by the amount of whatever this trip was that the government had proposed, because they wanted to send a message, and that is intimidating and a vice regal, which is things we really should not be doing in this country. And when the Bloc is proposing that we reduce the Governor General's salary to $1, we are saying that we A, don't value this office, B, we don't want any insulation for its independence, meaning government makes it will be able to control it more than it already does, in the sense that the Governor General does what the government of the day advises, with the proviso that they are also a constitutional fire extinguisher, for which their independence is absolutely necessary. And it's also saying that that stupid political stunts have a kind of currency that we should not really give them in our political discourse. This is actually one of the reasons why constitutional monarchy is actually a good thing, is because the monarch, and in the way that we conceive them, are people who have immense generational wealth. And the reason that that's a good thing is because it provides them that independence, so that you don't have a government of the day that says we're going to cut off your salary, your pension, that kind of thing, because they don't get a salary and they don't get a pension as a monarch. We're going to cut you off from your operating expenses. Well, if they have enough sufficient wealth, personal wealth, to insulate them from a government of the day, that preserves their independence. And that's why we don't want to go after things like the salary and the pension of the Governor General, for the very same reason. So, I mean, this is it kind of flows in together in terms of why a constitutional monarchy has a good is a good design in terms of ensuring the institutional independence of the monarch themselves in the duties that they perform on behalf of the state. And likewise for a governor general or a senator or judges. And that's why we have automatic escalators for judges' salaries and so on, so that they're not, they don't become political footballs in that particular way. And that's why we also tie things like MPs' salaries and so on to judges' salaries in order to try and depoliticize these particular things. And those are important things to remember in terms of how we're conceiving of the jobs that each of these different offices hold, whether it's an MP or senator or a judge or a governor general or the monarch. All of those offices have particular roles, and they are roles that work best when they are allowed to operate with sufficient independence, so that they can fulfill their obligations, and obligations that do include some level of holding government to account, especially if you're an MP or a senator or the courts, and if you're the governor general or the monarch, that you have an ability to keep a government in check in terms of the power that they wield, in case that they are looking to wield that power in grossly unconstitutional ways, or so on. So this is why whenever I hear these kinds of particular proposals, it makes me a little crazy, and it makes me want to sit people down and have this kind of conversation about why it's important that we preserve the institutional independence of these roles. And that means you don't go after their salaries, you don't go after their pensions, and stop playing these stupid games. It doesn't look good on anyone, and it just makes the discourse toxic overall. And that's everything for this week. Join us again next week for some more Canadian politics. I'm Dale Smith. That's at journo_Dale on Twitter and journodale_no_ on Bluesky. And don't forget to like the video, share, subscribe, and support us on Patreon. Thanks, everyone.